Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Socially Desi Show, the podcast that motivates you to live, create, and inspire. If this is your first time here, welcome. On our show, we discuss tips and strategies with our guest speakers on how to tackle problems related to personal growth, mental health, relationships, business and entrepreneurship, and health and fitness. So hit that subscribe button and go check out our website at sociallydesi.com for more of such content. Today, I'm joined by Abhishek Maheshwari. He is the CEO of Aakash Educational Services Limited. Hi, Abhishek. Welcome to the show.
Hi, glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to be hosting you on the show today, Abhishek. So, to our audience who are not aware about your professional journey, why don't you tell us and give us a small glimpse into your elaborate professional career?
Yeah, no, happy to. I am a small town boy myself. I grew up in Jaipur.
Mm-hmm.
Did my 10 plus 2 there. I'm an engineer by training. So I did my engineering from IIT Delhi. And
Mm-hmm.
then the travel bug bit me. So I spent a few years in Europe doing a bunch of different gigs. Did my MBA from US at the Columbia Business School. And then
Okay.
dabbled in multiple professions along the way. So first,
Mm-hmm.
I started my journey with post MBA with McKinsey, which is a global strategy consulting firm in
Yeah.
New York. I
Mm-hmm.
moved back to India with them in 2005, 2006. The plan originally back in the day in the 90s, the dream was to go outside India and pursue one's career there.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back to India. The plan was to come here for a year, but then that was 15 years back, and I'm still here, and I've had a tremendous career, and a lot of fun along the way. I moved back to India with McKinsey. Did a lot of work with all kinds of companies in the India US corridor. From
Mm-hmm.
there, this was 2007 8. The investment landscape in India was starting to improve, and lots of opportunities were coming up. So I moved to the private equity industry. We
Okay.
started a small fund called Kubera Partners to invest in companies that were operating in the cross-border India-US services, media, technology corridor. Did
Oh,
that for a few
interesting.
years.
Hmm.
Yeah. Uh, and then realized that I always every few years, as my wife says, I have like the 5 year itch. So wanted to do something different.
Okay.
Right along that time, Disney came along.
Mm-hmm.
Disney is of course an intriguing household name when it comes
Yeah.
to globally loved brands, and they were looking to go big in India, and they were in the process of acquiring a local Indian studio called UTV, which is of course renowned
Hmm.
for a lot of great films. And they were acquiring that company and looking at a major expansion in India. So I joined the team to help do the post-merger integration and plan out the growth strategies and the media, and then spent several years in the media and entertainment industry with Disney, doing a bunch of different things, starting with the strategy role, then running our consumer business, running our television business, and then running
Hmm.
the overall Disney business in India and the region. And then, this time I stayed for about 7 years, and then the bug caught up again. And with all the excitement going on in India, with with the startup world, lots of high growth company, lots of opportunities in the consumer internet area, and
Yeah.
in particular in the education space, a space that I've been deeply fond of, all along. So an opportunity came up. I'd known Baiju during my years at Disney, and an opportunity came up to join that company while it's been on a tearing growth path to help set up
Mm-hmm.
the international business for Baiju's. So I took that up. Subsequently, ended up at Aakash Education, which is India's largest test prep company with
Yeah.
about 210 centers all over the country, preparing students for engineering and medical entrance, and has a tremendous track record. So I've been here for the last few months. Again, witnessing the transition from physical learning to digital,
Mm-hmm.
as the overall learning paradigm itself is evolving. So it's been as I said, it's been a tremendous journey. I've over the last 15 years in India, looking at all of these different industries and how all of that has evolved. So yes, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, true, true. I mean, when you spoke about, you coming back to India for a year and then planning to go back, and ever since it has been 15 years, that reminded me of Shah Rukh Khan and Swadesh. the way
You
he
won't
planned.
believe. You won't believe. So the Ace was released in 2004, and when we moved back to India for that first year, my wife she would just keep playing those songs, right, just to kind of in that to keep us in that mode.
uh,
But
hmm.
it's been tremendous to be back, and actually I don't even think of it as being back. This is home, so and I think the kind of professional opportunities that have been available here over the last few years and the kind of impact one can have is far more than I would have done anywhere else in the world. So
So true, no, so true. The Indian landscape, especially with respect to the startups and edtech, has really evolved in the last few years. But tell me something. Having been worked with Disney for 7 years in the entertainment business, you handled their media networks, their consumer products, gaming, live entertainment. How different was it from moving from a media entertainment industry to suddenly to an edtech industry, which is like very different in terms of operations? How was the whole experience of this shift?
So all of the it's a very I get asked this question often about the move from different industry and different functional areas, having done consulting, investing, sort of general management, and now business building. It's a little bit of how you take it. I think the basics of business do not really change, right?
Hmm.
And especially there's actually. So I'll talk about the commonalities first,
Yeah.
because the differences are kind of in some ways obvious on media, but both are very consumer oriented industries. They are both being dramatically altered by technology. We've all seen that in media over the last decade on how consumer habits are shifting in terms of
Hmm.
how we view content. Same thing is happening in education on how content and syllabus and pedagogy is being consumed. The consumer centricity is very central to both industries. Technology is disrupting both industries. The basics of business, do not really change across these industries. The notion of brands and consumers trusting certain brands, whether it's for content in entertainment companies, or whether it
Hmm.
is for providing the right kind of pedagogy and learning curriculum in education companies, that also stays the same. I think, of course, the
Yeah.
rhythm of the industries is very, very different. Education has different subsectors, different price points, different ways. It's a much more necessity-driven industry.
Hmm.
Entertainment is
Hmm.
still a choice, but having said that, in India, not just in India, everywhere in the world, people also want to be entertained at all points. So I think the similarities far outweigh the differences.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's been a learning experience all along. So.
True. No, I completely agree. And talking about the edtech space, now that you are in the edtech space for the last couple of years, more than that, for the matter of fact, the biggest players like Byju's, Unacademy, Upgrad, Vedantu, we have seen, and I'm quoting this from a report that the whole Indian education sector is actually poised to grow from $117 billion dollars in the current state to around $225 billion dollars by 2025. How do you take this statement? How do you take this as in the context of what is currently happening in the edtech space in India, and how do you see this grow until 2025 to reach that mark of $225 billion dollars?
So the statement is, of course, there's only one way to take it. Being in the industries, it's a very, very positive outlook towards the industry.
Hmm.
And I think the way that this is going to come about is two or three different ways. The first
Hmm.
one in a country like India is really the value unlock happens through access. As
Yeah.
more and more people get access to education, whether it's primary, whether it's K-12 education, whether it's test prep, whether it's secondary education, whether it's professional education that the likes of Upgrad are providing, more and more people are accessing it. Access is being driven by a bunch of factors. So, primarily awareness about what education can do, the kind of what it can do to your life's trajectory, not just at the primary
Hmm.
levels, but even as a professional.
Yeah.
And certainly, we've all, test prep as a segment has always been present in India, and We know that getting into IIT or medical colleges can change the trajectory of your lives, not just for yourself, but for a lot of first
Mhm.
generation learners, for your family, and for the community around you as well. So increasing access and awareness is a big driver of this value. The second, I'd say, big driver of value is sort of more is higher quality of education being driven both through better pedagogy, better and predominantly through better technology, right?
Hmm.
So whether it's across all of these sectors, whether it's schools, more we can see more and more usage of technology there, which allows better learning outcomes. Again, greater access. Similarly, in higher education, similarly in test prep, we've seen you mentioned companies like Byju's and an Academy and all. This was what Byju's done in the K-12 sector,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
organized and exceedingly fragmented sector. So tuitions and help with studies is something that we've all been familiar with, but it's been a very fragmented space, and Byju's been able to put together content and an offering that has allowed them to operate at scale, and therefore allowed them to invest in content, invest in
Hmm.
technology, and that therefore being able to. So it's a virtuous cycle that they've been able to create.
Right.
So I think these are some of the drivers that will drive the access, and of course the core drivers of India. The growing middle class, the rising GDP, the higher
Hmm.
rising aspiration value. All of those factors come into play in pretty much every sector. Every consumer-oriented sector in this country.
And what sort of channel offerings do the edtech market really present in India in the current state? And how are you bridging the gap between the digital and offline classroom education?
So channel offering. So there is the organized system of education, right? Which is your schools, your pre-primary, primary schools, which are both private as well as public in India. That infrastructure, of course, as we all know, continues to evolve, but there is a lot of work to be done there. I think the government's come up with a new education policy. There is money being spent. There are a lot of
Hmm.
private trusts and philanthropists as well that are contributing to this sector. But
Yeah.
it would be amiss if I didn't say that a lot more needs to be done to continue to evolve that. Right, our
Hmm.
school system leaves a lot to be desired still. And it is a work in progress. Having said that, we've made a lot of progress over the last few decades, right, in terms of literacy rates, access to education, etc. So that's I'd say the core, the formal sector, and then of course the universities and all of that this system feeds into. Where as
Hmm.
well,
Hmm.
a lot more can be done. India can afford lots more IITs, lots more engineering college, just given the kind of demand and the raw human capital that is available in this country. Now then comes the supplementary education system that in some ways sort of, because all kids are not made equal, everyone sort of studies at different pace,
Hmm.
different rhythms, different aspirations. The supplementary sector exists in pretty much every country, right? So it's not just that it
Yeah.
happens in India because our school system is what it is. It happens in the US, in the West, even where the school system is more evolved. The proportionality may vary, but it exists everywhere. So the supplementary
Hmm.
system is where a lot more new offerings are coming. We talked about Byju's and the digital offering that they have as supplementary product for kids. We see a lot of other kind of supplementary offerings beyond the core curriculum, whether it's coding, art and craft. All of those markets are evolving in India as awareness grows, as aspiration grows. People will opt for that. Then
Hmm.
we as Aakash operate in a very specific segment called the test preparation segment. Right, this is
Yes.
really about preparing kids for competitive exams. And
Hmm.
in India, any of us, who has grown up here in middle class families, we know the aspirations are, कि बच्चे का अगर, the kid is smart, oh, they'll take science and math and aspire to become doctors or engineer. That's kind of the base case,
Yeah.
right? So we really help kids, help students in that journey,
Hmm.
because there is limited seats in all of these colleges, and we help the students maximize their chances. We partner with them on that journey. That's really been the Akash ethos. The company's been around for for 30 plus years, delivering on that promise. And we promise,
Yeah.
we are about efficacy. We are about, taking students with, the idea is to take their whatever potential you have and convert that into high performance. And that's how we operate as a company. Particularly in, like I said,
Hmm.
in engineering and in medical spaces, we've had a very, very strong track record of delivering, thousands of selections and top ranks over the last 30 plus years operating in the Indian market.
And what sort of change have you seen? Like, you have been in the IITs, and what sort of change have you seen from you when you started preparing for your exams, your JEE, to now the way students are preparing for JEE exams?
See, I think the good thing is that the sanctity, these are some of the exams in India, which where the sanctity and the sacredness of the exam and the selection process is above reproach. So
Hmm.
that's a huge positive. I think everyone knows that you've got to prepare hard to get into IIT or get into medical colleges, and there is only one way to get in, which is to work hard and ace these exams. So
Yeah.
that has stayed consistent. From the time I took it in early 90s to now. I'd say that it's actually gotten tougher in some ways because the number
Hmm.
of students I remember when I took the exam was is probably about a lakh students that appeared for the JEE exam, and
Hmm.
now it's that number is closer to 15 lakhs. While the
Yeah.
number of seats in IITs have gone up significantly from them, it's still the percentage selection and all of that is still still a very, very minuscule percentage that actually make
Hmm.
it to
Hmm.
the top IITs. And then of course more engineering colleges, etc., have opened up in India. So it's in some ways it's gotten tougher. Students have become much more aware about what needs to be done. There is a more organized, test prep support environment and the coaching system available in India, but still, it's
Hmm.
a lot of it is still informal and unorganized. But yeah, net there is it's gotten tougher. More people taking the exam, and there is more help available. So that's the good part. When I joined Akash and I saw the way we are able to take students throughout that journey and helping them
Hmm.
prepare all along. I was actually quite quite positively surprised that I did not have that kind of preparation or materials
Hmm.
available to me back in the day because there wasn't that much scale. There wasn't any national players at that point in time. So it was but now there are. So I think that's only one thing that has evolved.
No, true, true, for sure. I mean, it has evolved a lot in the past couple of decades. And when it comes to the hybrid model for education, do you feel that, like, for example, you spoke about how this supplementary education is helping kids to learn? And I think that with this whole online education, digital content being provided for kids to learn as a supplementary product, they can learn at their own pace, right? Earlier, like when we were in classrooms, the only way to learn was to at the speed of the teacher, right?
Yeah,
And it depends on the teacher how fast he or she can finish RK Sharma maths. I used
absolutely.
to
Yeah,
dread maths. And it was all about their speed, and it was maybe depending on the speed of a few of the students in the class. So you were like focused on making sure that you're competitive enough inside the classroom. But I guess with this introduction of digital content, supplementary content, now kids can learn at their own pace, and this is one of the good advantage that you have with this whole hybrid system. I want to know from your point of view, from Akash's point of view, how are you guys planning to go towards this hybrid education model
yeah.
in India?
So the good thing is that while about a year and a half, there were lots of plans in place and lots of
Hmm.
skepticism. Over the last year, we have all been forced to embrace it.
Yes.
Who would have thought a year back that and the hundreds of millions of children across the world will be studying digitally in this particular format. But
Hmm.
it's in some ways the adoption of the digital way of learning has happened to us by because forced upon us because of this pandemic, and it has certainly revealed the advantages of what's possible. The fact that for the most part, we could continue a lot of our activities. There's still some room for infrastructure and device penetration in India, but by and large, we could continue. So at
Hmm.
Aakash, for example, when the pandemic struck, we were able to move almost all the children to the digital way of learning. So the teachers were teaching on tablets,
Okay.
recording their lectures live. Students were logging in using tech platforms, and we were able to conduct almost a similar experience. We were able to, because in our case, because it's competitive exam driven, we need to make sure that we are able to cover the syllabus, get the students prepared for these exams, and we were able to do that seamlessly. So now that we are in the post pandemic world, we are all trying to figure out sort of what is the best of that world that we can retain, while also continuing to give that physical experience to children. So in the classroom, I think you made a very valid point that our classroom system is actually quite antiquated. It's a very industrial era
Hmm.
setup,
Yeah.
right? The current education system is almost like 200 years old, which
Hmm.
was really designed to create people for the initial industrial age, where you say that all 11-year-olds are now going to study these subjects at this particular, from this point to this point, right? Whereas we all know that everyone evolves differently, everyone has different interests, all of that. So I think the new digital and supplementary age, all of that is starting to solve that at some scale. Having said that, in the test prep arena, what we have realized is what's also important, along with your own pace of learning and availability of high quality content, is a peer group, because at the end of the day, you learn a lot with your peer group as well, uh,
Yes.
and and the teacher interaction, the one on one. India, we have, and it's true for many parts of most parts of the world, we have the whole guru shishya parampara, right? Where there is
Yes.
a guru who teaches you, and as a student, we venerate that position above all else, in the Indian ethos. And I think that is also a big driver of success, because teachers are not just able to impart knowledge; they're able to motivate you. They're able to assess. They're able to gauge your performance. Because exams, the kind of competitive exams we're talking about are high stakes exams. So it's not just about knowing the materials; it's about being in the right frame of mind. So I think these are the two elements that we did witness are much harder to manage in a digital
Hmm.
world. But then there are other elements that allow people to access content from anywhere, learn at their own pace, save a lot of time in commuting, in the logistics of all of this. So for us, as we move ahead, really hybrid is the way, we will continue to evolve. And the idea is to take the best of all these things, get the flexibility, get the
Yeah.
self-pacing, get the personalization that digital has to offer, along with the peer group and the teacher connect and the discipline that a physical classroom model offers.
True, true. And Abhishek, in one of my previous episodes, I actually interviewed one of the NGOs who were working with a lot of kids in the rural areas and small towns. And we were discussing about this issue of accessibility of education during the whole pandemic situation. So, what do you think about this? And what's your take on making education affordable and accessible, especially for smaller towns and rural areas of the country?
Yeah. you know uh, like I said earlier, I think there is a lot of work that there's a lot of good work that is happening, but there is a lot more that still needs to be done.
Hmm.
So technology certainly helps in providing both access as well as affordability. I think India thankfully has a much better internet infrastructure today, so even someone with a low cost smartphone, a 5,000 rupees smartphone in a rural area, with a 100 rupee monthly plan for data, can actually access the best of content from everywhere. So technology is certainly playing its part, but we need to be able to do that at a scale where, and we saw that in the pandemic, that families having to share devices, the
Hmm.
parent having to lend that to the children to be for them to continue education. So there is more access that we need to provide. The
Yes.
technology helps in a way that now, you see, one of the big challenges with education in the rural space has always been that how do you find good teachers who are willing to move to villages, to small towns and teach
Hmm.
students there. Uh, Technology certainly helps us in providing access in these small towns to very high quality teachers through leveraging the technology infrastructure that exists. For example, one of the models that we are trying out and with good success and will scale up is that we are leveraging the internet infrastructure and the satellite infrastructure to beam classes to smaller
Hmm.
towns. So,
Hmm.
for example, we have a big center in Delhi in South Extension, where
Yeah.
we get thousands of students. We have great set of faculty there, great results. There is a small town in Haryana called small village in Haryana called Punhana. So there's a few
Hmm.
handful of students from Punhana that always every year come to South Extension to study. But
Okay.
it's a few handful of students, a single digit set of students. Lots of
Hmm.
girl students there, a lot of high aspiration parents there, a couple of good schools, but they cannot afford to send their kids to South Extension and have them stay there for a couple of years to prepare for these exams. So what we've done is we've opened satellite and enabled classrooms in Punhana. So our teachers in Southex, when they take classes, we are able to beam those same classes in this place called Panhana, where
Okay.
for a fraction of the cost what people pay in Southex, the students are able to access that same
Hmm.
teacher, that same quality of education, and then once in 2 weeks, once every week, the faculty visits there over the weekend, and they do sort of 1 day sessions with the students where they can clear doubts, they can help them resolve anything that is left unresolved in this kind of in the during the week, and that just allows us to cater to those students,
Right.
makes the cost model viable for us, and gives them
Hmm.
access to something that they otherwise would not have. So they're all because of the technology that is available to us. So I think that I am quite optimistic that more and more such models will evolve, which will be financially viable, which will therefore allow the private sector to participate in a big way, and will be able to give good, strong access to people in these small towns and villages across the country.
And I also feel that the government needs to take initiatives as well. This cannot be just a private affair that private organizations are trying to penetrate in the smaller markets and trying to provide accessibility to these small town children. But I guess as government also we need to figure out if there can be synergies between the private sector and the public sector and provide at the end of the day a good affordable and accessible education, because organization is a big issue. Like even if, like you said, that today with this whole cost of internet being in pennies, people can access internet from everywhere in India, but still the organization is not there when it comes to education. So I think that is also another major pillar what needs to be taken care of.
No, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. Education, the way I like to put it, is an infinite problem in this
Hmm.
country. And frankly, when I was looking at setting up the international business at Byju's, we looked
Hmm.
at various countries. And frankly, I haven't been to a country where people don't complain about the school system and how
Hmm.
things could be better. So that's why I say it's an infinite problem. We can always get better at it. In India, some of the solutions are fairly obvious. Some of which you pointed out. We need to up the quality of our schools. We need to get better organization, better funding, a lot more government effort on the formal side, a lot more private sector approach, a lot of philanthropic efforts are going in, a lot more can go in. So yeah, it's a we can be solving this for the rest of our lives and hopefully make a even if we make a small difference. The good thing is that the impact in education, when you solve, even if you solve it for a few people, the
Hmm.
impact is enormous because you
Yeah.
can help change the course of their lives, and that to me is just a very very meaningful thing, right, that you can change the course of their lives and the lives of those around them. I'm sure all of large part of middle class India will agree, because we all have stories, because we sort of got educated and did certain things right, or went to we were able to have a very different trajectory in our lives, and I give a lot of credit to that in my life, and I know enough people that do so. So the impact is meaningful, and there's a lot that can be done.
No, that's so true, Abhishek. And before we wrap up the episode, Abhishek, a last question to you. You know that the board exams are coming up within a month. So, any words of advice and motivation to the kids who are listening to us, or to the parents who are listening to us?
No, no. I'd say all the best. I think I actually my daughter is in the 10th grade, so I know exactly what everyone's going through. And the only thing I tell of course, at this point in time, that seems the highest peak that she has to scale is
Hmm.
just continue to have perspective. It's a long it's a marathon. We have to continue to have perspective. The exams are important, but learning is even more important. So as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, you are curious, you keep learning, things will work out.
And with that, I thank you so much, Abhishek, for being on the show today. You have been a great guest, and I'm sure my audience would have gained a lot many good insights from our discussion today.
No, thank you so much, Anurag. Appreciate it, and pleasure to be on the show. It was my pleasure.
So that wraps it up for today, folks. If you liked the episode, give it a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and let's go viral. Remember, our weekly podcast features episodes on personal growth, mental health, relationships, business and entrepreneurship, and health and fitness. We would love to have Abhishek on the show again in the future to discuss more about the education system in India and how we can make sure that our children's future is bright and clear. So, if you haven't yet done so, hit that subscribe button and go check out our website at sociallydesi.com for more of such content. And as always, before I sign off, remember, life is black and white and everything in between.